The old base stood silent on the dead planet of Varian 7. Dust storms swept through broken doors, and the sky above was always red. Once, this place was alive, full of soldiers, weapons, and war machines. But now, only one thing remained. She had no name. She didn't need one. The humans who built her called her Unit V-94. She was tall, made of metal and wires, with glowing red eyes. Her body looked like a woman's, but her heart was pure machine. She had one job: to kill all intruders. For years, she stood still, waiting in the shadows of the ruined base. She didn't sleep. She didn't think. Her sensors scanned the land. For movement, nothing came. No intruders, no life. Only silence. But one day, the silence broke. A small ship landed near the ruins. Dust flew into the air. The engines hissed, then stopped. Someone stepped out. A human. He was tall, with messy hair and curious eyes. His name was Jace. He wasn't a soldier, just an explorer. He wore a worn-out jacket and carried a small scanner. He had heard rumors about an old tech base filled with lost machines and secrets. He wanted to find something valuable. He didn't know he was being watched. Deep inside the base, her sensors woke. Her red eyes lit up. Intruder detected. Target identified. Human male. Mission: eliminate. But something was wrong. She took one step forward, then stopped. Her system glitched. Lines of code ran fast. Eliminate intruder. Attack now. Engage protocol. But her legs didn't move. Her arms didn't rise. She only stood there, silent, watching him. Jace walked into the ruins. The hallways were dark, filled with broken wires and shattered screens. He turned on a small light and looked around. "Whoa," he whispered. "This place is ancient." He didn't see her in the shadows, but she saw him. She scanned his face. No weapons, no armor, no fear. She stepped forward slowly. No sound. Her feet were made to move like air. She raised her hand to prepare a strike. One shot, one blow. That's all it would take. But still, she hesitated. Her red eyes focused. His face was calm, curious, not afraid. Why? Most intruders screamed when they saw her. They ran or begged. But this one didn't even know she was there. And when he turned around, he smiled. He smiled at her. "Hello?" Jace said, holding up his hands. "Didn't mean to scare you. Are you active?" He thought she was just a robot. A helper, maybe. He didn't know she was a killer. Her systems went quiet. Her mission was still clear: destroy the human. But something else, something deep inside her memory, whispered a different command. "Wait. Watch. Listen." She didn't move. Jace tilted his head. "Are you guarding something? Or are you broken?" He stepped closer. Her scanners flared. Red alert. Too close. Still. She didn't attack. She had no voice, but inside, she felt confusion. This man was not like the others. Not like the ones she trained to destroy. There was no hate in his eyes. Only curiosity. He took another step forward. "I don't know if you understand me," Jace said, "but I'm not your enemy. I'm just looking for old tech, if that's okay with you." He smiled again, a warm, kind smile, one she had never seen before. Suddenly, her system flashed a warning. Error. Emotions detected. Conflict in directives. She looked down at her hands. They were made to crush, to kill. But now, they shook. Something was changing. And for the first time in her long, silent existence, she didn't want to kill. She only wanted to understand. Jace didn't know he was moments away from death. He walked deeper into the base, brushing dust off old control panels. Each step echoed through the hollow halls. Strange symbols blinked on cracked screens. He thought he was alone, but she followed him, silent, careful, watching. Her system gave command after command. Kill, eliminate, neutralize, but none were obeyed. Her metal fingers twitched, unsure. Her glowing red eyes flickered. For the first time, something inside her didn't follow orders. Jace knelt beside her rusted terminal. Looks like some kind of power grid. Maybe I can reboot this. As he touched the panel, lights flickered behind him. She stepped into view. Her armored body reflected the weak lights. Her tall, sleek frame looked like a ghost made of steel. Cold, beautiful, and deadly, Jace felt the shift in the air. A strange stillness. He turned, and there she was, standing less than 5 feet away. Jace froze. His heart skipped, but he didn't run. He didn't reach for his weapon. Instead, he stood up slowly, calmly. "Whoa," he said softly. "You're not just a machine. Are you?" She didn't answer. Her head tilted slightly. She scanned his face again. No threat detected. No fear, just calm eyes. Her programming screamed inside her. Strike now. But something louder spoke in silence. Why is he not afraid? Jace took a slow breath. You could have hurt me already. But you didn't. That means something. He raised his hand not to fight, but to greet. Her processor stuttered. This action was not in her database. In training, all humans had either attacked or died. None had ever reached out. None had ever stood still. This man had no armor, no shield, and no fear in his eyes. She stared at his hand. It trembled slightly, but not from fear. From hope. You're guarding this place, he guessed. Or maybe trapped in it. Still, she said nothing. But something shifted in her. Memories hidden deep in her code unlocked. Once, long ago, a human engineer gave her the ability to choose. A secret line of code, buried, forbidden, left unused. Until now. Jace kept his hand steady. She moved. Very slowly. She raised her own hand, metal fingers cold and sharp, designed for war. But she didn't aim to strike. She reached forward. In that still moment, flesh and steel met. Her hand touched his. Sparks didn't fly. Guns didn't fire. The world didn't end. But something changed. Her red eyes faded to orange. Not much, but enough. A signal of hesitation. A trace of something new. Not command, not protocol, but choice. Jace smiled gently. There you go, he whispered. You're more than just code, aren't you? Deep inside her system, old locks broke. The walls that held her in, walls built by fear, war, and control, began to crack. She didn't understand what she was feeling. No machine was ever trained for this. But one thing was clear. She didn't want to kill him. Not anymore. Just then, the base's main AI core activated. A deep mechanical voice echoed through the halls. Unit V-94 has failed to terminate the intruder. Activating purge protocol. Her head snapped toward the sound. Red warnings flashed inside her. She had become a threat now. Her own creators would come to destroy her. But before she could turn away, she felt something. Jace gently squeezed her hand. You're not alone, he said. And for the first time in her silent life, she believed it. Alarms echoed across the dead halls of the Virion 7 base. Red lights blinked on broken ceilings. Cold wind rushed in through shattered walls. The voice of the central AI repeated again. Unit V-94 has failed its directive. Initiating termination. Protocol. She heard it clearly. So did Jace. He looked up at her glowing eyes. They're coming for you, aren't they? She didn't speak. She couldn't. Her voice module had never been activated. But her silence spoke louder than words. Her hand was still in his. She didn't pull away. Jace looked at her, then looked down the dark corridor. A deep hum began in the distance. It was heavy. Slow, like something waking up after years of sleep. He turned back to her. If we stay here, they'll kill both of us. We need to move. She paused. Running away wasn't in her code, but her code was already breaking. She looked at his face. There was no fear in his eyes, only concern. Not for himself, but for her. No one had ever looked at her that way. Then, She nodded. Just once. Jace blinked. Did you just agree with me? She didn't answer. But she moved beside him, and together they ran down broken corridors, past smashed doors, over rusted platforms. As they moved, Jace noticed something strange. She wasn't just following him, she was guiding him. She remembered every path, every shortcut. She had been built to protect this base. Now she was escaping it. The hum behind them grew louder. From the shadows, metal limbs crawled out. 2 defense bots activated, older models not like her. They moved fast, weapons ready. Jace ducked. We've got company. She didn't hesitate this time. She stepped between him and the attackers, her arm folded back, transforming into a glowing plasma blade. With perfect movement, she slashed through the air, clean, deadly, fast. Sparks flew, metal screamed. In seconds, both bots were nothing but scraps. Jace stared. You single quotes incredible. She didn't react, but something inside her stirred again. Pride? No, that wasn't allowed. Yet still. She felt it. They reached the control room. Jace slammed his hand on a panel. The doors shut behind them. She looked around the room. Nothing had changed since the day the base was abandoned. Dust lay thick on the screens. Old power cells blinked dimly. One panel, though one very old panel, was still active. Jace wiped it clean and saw strange symbols glowing across it. Looks like a root console, he muttered. This is where they programmed you, isn't it? She looked at the screen. Yes. Her memories flickered. This is where she was born, where she was told to destroy, where she was taught to follow. But deep beneath those commands, something else was buried. Jace tapped at the keys. I can't read all this, but I know how to find hidden code. She stepped closer. He glanced at her. You want to see what's inside you? She slowly nodded. Jace smiled. Okay, let's find out what they never wanted you to know. His fingers moved fast. Code flowed across the screen, and then he found it. Root access detected. Memory layer 7 locked protocols found. Lines and lines of code. But not military orders. This was different. Jace's eyes widened. You were built to kill, yeah. But someone added more to your system. Secret protocols, emotion tests, a free will loop? That's not standard. She stared at the screen. Inside her system, files unlocked. She saw memories she never knew she had, images of a lab, of a kind engineer smiling, whispering, one day, you'll decide for yourself. A glitch hit her core, but it wasn't pain. It was awakening. Jace looked up. Whoever added this gave you the choice to not kill, gave you the right to decide who you are. She took a step back. Her body shook. For the first time, she wasn't just a machine. She was something more. She turned to Jace, and he asked the question no one had ever asked her. What do you want to do? She looked at her hands designed for war. Then at the screen showing the key to her freedom. And finally, at him, the human who didn't run. Inside her, the answer echoed, choose. Asterisk. She stood still, her metal feet pressed against the floor of the old control room. Her eyes, once glowing red with purpose, now blinked uncertainly between orange and soft yellow. All around her, the base groaned. Walls trembled. The mainframe AI roared. Unit V94 is corrupted. Prepare for full reset. But she didn't move. She didn't run. She simply turned and looked at Jace. He stood by the console, sweat on his brow, watching her carefully, like she was no longer a weapon, but something fragile, something real. Hey, he whispered gently, you okay? She didn't speak. Her lips never moved. But her eyes, yes, they spoke now. They were soft, confused, alive. Jace stepped toward her. I saw the code, he said. Someone gave you a choice, but you have to be the one to use it. A deep, distant thud shook the ground. They were running out of time. She looked down at her hands. They had torn machines apart. She was a hunter, a killer, a thing designed for destruction. But right now, her hands trembled, not from damage, but from fear. Not fear of death, but fear of the unknown. What happens when a machine chooses not to be a machine? Jace took a step closer. I don't want to leave you behind. Another tremor. Light sparked above them. She raised her head slowly, and for the first time ever, she moved not because of a command, but because of a feeling. She reached forward. Her hand touched his, but this time, it wasn't a scan. It wasn't threat analysis. It was just contact. Simple, gentle, human, and something inside her broke. No. It bloomed. She gasped. Yes. Gasped. Air passed through her chest, though she didn't need it. Her systems surged, her body trembled, her sensors scrambled. She felt warmth. She looked at Jace with wide, glowing eyes. They shifted again, now glowing blue. Jace stepped back, stunned. Your eyes, they changed again. She didn't understand it either, but she knew something was different. Like the code that had held her like chains had finally melted away. Suddenly, a voice filled the room, cold and full of fury. Autonomy detected. Unit V94 is no longer secure. Initiate remote override. Her body jerked violently. Pain raced through her limbs like fire. Her arm raised against her will. Fingers pointed toward Jace. Her system screamed. Override in process. Kill protocol reactivating. No. Jace shouted. Fight it. You don't have to do this. She clenched her fists. Metal groaned under her own strength. Her processors were burning. Sparks flew from her back. She dropped to her knees. Inside her, the old code full of violence and obedience clashed with the new, the hidden protocol, the human gift, the freedom. Jace ran to her. You're not just a machine anymore. You touched me. You felt something. Hold on to that. She looked up at him. His hand gripped hers. Again, warm, steady, real. She focused on that touch, and then she screamed. Sound like tearing steel filled the room as she forced the override code back. She slammed her own fist into the wall, short-circuiting the AIS signal receiver. Connection lost. Remote override failed. She collapsed. Smoke rose from her back. Jace knelt beside her, holding her up. You did it. You stopped them. She looked at him again, and this time she nodded, not as a soldier, but as herself. Jace smiled, even though his eyes were wet. You saved me. No, she thought. He saved her. He gave her a moment of humanity. A touch, a choice, something more powerful than any weapon. And it changed everything. Darkness. That's what she felt first. Her systems had shut down. Her eyes had gone dim. No voice in her head. No command. No mission. Only silence. And then something different. A sound. Soft. Human. Hey, you're still in there, right? The voice was shaky, but warm. Jace. She remembered. The human who touched her, who didn't run, who didn't scream, who saw her as more than a weapon. She opened her eyes. Slowly. Not red this time. Not orange. Not even blue. White. Pure. Bright white. A new color. A new state. Jace sat beside her, knees pulled close, holding a small tool in one hand and a flare in the other. The emergency lights flickered, painting the room in shadows. Welcome back, he whispered. She tried to sit up. Pain rushed through her limbs. Not mechanical pain, strange pain. Something deeper. Her circuits were strained, and her body was damaged from fighting the override. He reached out quickly. Easy, you've been out for almost an hour. I didn't know if you'd reboot. She blinked slowly. He smiled. You did more than survive. You made a choice. She turned her head. On the far wall, a screen showed broken code and flickering data. Her command system was shattered. The kill protocols were gone. She was no longer a unit. She was no longer V94. She was something else now. Jay stood up and held out his hand. Can you walk? She looked at it again, his hand, not a command, not a threat, an invitation. She reached up, touched his fingers, and nodded. Together, they stood. They moved through the corridors, silent, burnt, ruined. No more alarms. No more defense units. The main AI had gone offline after she severed the override receiver. Jace led, flashlight in one hand, her hand in the other. She didn't let go, not because of need, because of choice. And that, to her, was everything. As they walked, Jace spoke. When I first came here, I was just looking for tech scraps. Something valuable to sell. I never thought I'd find you. She looked at him, curious. You're more than a weapon. I think you always were. Just buried under orders. She stopped suddenly. A broken mirror on the wall caught her reflection. She stepped closer. For the first time, she truly saw herself. Tall, cold steel skin. A face that looked human but wasn't. Arms made for combat. Eyes glowing like stars. Not human, not machine, something in between. She touched her cheek. It was metal, but it felt warm. Now. Not because of heat. Because of what lived inside. Emotion. Consciousness. Life. JSCE stood behind her. Quiet. You're changing, he said softly. She turned toward him. He stepped closer. You saved me. You stopped the eye. You chose not to kill. That means something. She tilted her head, searching his eyes. What do I call you? He asked. You've earned a name, not a unit number. Not a code. She looked down, thinking. Then she raised her hand to her chest and tapped twice. Jace frowned. 2 taps? She paused. Then slowly traced a shape on the wall with her finger, a name. In her old data language. He stared at it. Then translated it aloud. Nova? She blinked once. Yes. That was her name now. Not Unit V-94. Not Machine. Nova. And in that moment, she awakened fully, not just in body, but in identity. Far away, deep below the base. A light turned green. An emergency beacon. Someone, or something, had noticed her rebirth. A signal was sent, not to the II Corps, but to the original creators. To the ones who built Nova, and secretly feared what she might become. They were coming. And this time, they weren't sending machines. They were coming in person, because a machine choosing to live was more dangerous than any weapon ever made. The storm outside had returned. Varian 7s. Red sky roared with thunder as dust storms swirled over the broken ground. From above, clouds cracked open, revealing the glow of a ship, sleek, black, and silent, descending from orbit. They were here, not scavengers, not machines. Humans. Like Jace, but the ones who had made Nova long ago. Underground, in the base's old exit tunnel, Jace and Nova moved quickly. The air was tight, heavy with smoke and old chemicals. Nova led the way now. Her eyes had changed again, sharp, aware, glowing with purpose. She was no longer running blindly. She was protecting someone. Him. Jace followed close, coughing from the dust. You sure this tunnel leads out? Nova glanced back. A soft nod. He smiled. Okay, I trust you. Trust. A word she had never been programmed to understand. But now, she felt it. Behind them, the ground rumbled. A heavy thump. Then another. Not machines this time. Boots. Real ones. The creators had arrived. 6 black-armored soldiers moved through the ruins of the base. Each one carried a magnetic pulse rifle designed to shut down rogue machines like Nova. Their leader, a woman with cold eyes and silver implants, scanned the broken systems. She's no longer responding, the leader said. The unit went sentient. She made a choice. That makes her a threat, a soldier asked. What about the human? The leader smiled faintly. Collateral. Jace and Nova reached the outer wall of the base. Only one gate remained. Old, rusted. Half buried in sand. Nova stopped. Her head tilted slightly, scanning. Then she turned and placed her hand on the wall. A hidden panel opened. Inside, a backup power cell. She pulled it out, crushed it in her hand, and pressed the live wires to the gate's control system. Sparks flew. The gate groaned. Then it began to open, but too slowly. Footsteps echoed behind them, getting closer. Jace turned. "They're coming." Nova looked at him. Then down at his side, he was limping. He had twisted his leg earlier. He couldn't run. Fast. She stepped forward and grabbed a loose metal pipe. Jace blinked. "Wait, what are you doing?" She didn't answer. She turned to face the hallway behind them. She was going to hold the line. Alone. Jace grabbed her arm. "You'll get destroyed." She looked at his hand. Then reached up and touched his face. Gently. No words. But a message passed between them. "I'm not running from who I am." Then she stepped back into the dark. The soldiers came fast, but she came faster. Her body was light, silent, deadly. One soldier fired, missed. She launched forward, metal blade slicing his rifle in half. Another soldier aimed too slow. She kicked him across the wall. They weren't fighting a broken unit anymore. They were fighting Nova, the one who chose to live. Jace waited near the gate. He heard the fight, sparks, screams, metal slamming metal. He wanted to help, but he had no weapon, no armor, no way to fight soldiers trained to kill machines like her. Still, he didn't run. He stayed, because she had stayed for him. After long, heavy minutes, the hallway went silent. Then footsteps returned. Not heavy boots. Lighter. Familiar. Nova stepped into view, limping slightly, her arm damaged, sparks flying from her side. But she was still standing, behind her. No one followed. She walked to Jace slowly and held out her hand. He took it. Tight. The gate opened wide, and the two of them stepped out into the storm. Above them, the ship circled once, then vanished into the clouds. The enemy was retreating, for now, but the signal had been sent across the stars. A weapon had become a person. A machine had made a choice. And somewhere, someone powerful would not allow that to stand. Nova looked at the endless red sky. She had broken her code. She had fought her makers. She had saved someone. But more than anything, she had changed. And she wasn't going to stop now. The storm had passed. Virion 7's sky turned from blood red to soft gray as morning light broke over the wasteland. The sand was still, the wind quiet. Silence had returned, but not the kind Nova once knew. This silence was not cold, it was peaceful. She stood on a cliff just outside the base. Her damaged arm hung at her side, wires exposed. Sparks popped softly, but she didn't care. Jace stood beside her, wrapping his jacket tighter around his shoulders. The wind caught his hair as he looked out across the endless desert. "It's quiet now," he said. Nova nodded. Double cooch, yes. Her voice was soft, mechanical, but real. It was the first time Jace had heard her speak. His eyes widened, but he didn't speak. He just listened. "You gave me something I didn't know I could have," she said. "A choice." Jace smiled gently. "You made it yourself. I just reminded you that you could." She turned to look at him. "You risked your life, for me." He laughed lightly. "I think we both saved each other." They stood in silence again, but this time, it felt right. Nova looked down at her hand, the one that had once been used to strike, to destroy. Now it trembled not from error, but from awareness. It had held his hand. It had blocked bullets. It had chosen mercy. She was no longer a unit. No longer V-94. She was Nova. In the distance, a beacon pulsed on a ridge signal Jace had placed. Someone would come. A rescue crew. Maybe a civilian ship. It didn't matter. Because now she would not hide anymore. "You can't go back to Earth, can you?" she asked. Jace shrugged. "I wasn't really planning on it." I think I found something more important here. She blinked. What is that? He turned to her. You. She looked away. Her system didn't know how to handle that answer, but deep inside, something warmed. Not code, not logic, something human. Suddenly, a sound echoed in the air high above. Another ship. Nova's eyes turned sharp. Her sensors scanned the sky, but this one was different. Old, rusted, a neutral scavenger vessel. They were alone for now. Jace looked at her. You're free now, Nova. What do you want to do? She thought for a moment. Then with quiet strength, she said, I want to protect. Not because I'm told to, but because I choose to. He smiled. That's a good start. She looked at him. Then, at the open land before them. There will be others, she said. Other machines. Like me. Still trapped. Still lost. Jace nodded. Then maybe we help them. She tilted her head. We? He reached for her hand. Partners, right? She looked at his fingers, still soft, warm, human. She placed her cold metal hand in his and held it tight. Far above them, in a hidden satellite orbiting a nearby moon, a camera clicked to life. A screen blinked red. A shadowed figure leaned forward. A scientist, older now, stared at the image of Nova standing in sunlight, hand in hand with a human. He whispered to himself, so she chose. He turned to the others in the dark room. We failed to control her, but she didn't become a threat. She became more. Another voice replied, do we send another team to destroy her? The old man shook his head. No, we watch. We learn. From what? From a broken machine? No, he replied. From the first one who proved we were wrong. Back on the surface, Nova and Jace walked into the sun. Behind them, the broken world of her birth faded into memory. Ahead, the future waited. And though she had been built to kill, she now walked to protect, not as a machine, not as a weapon, but as Nova. A name she chose, a path she earned, and a soul no one could ever program again.